for joining me, and welcome back to the Simon Says Stamped YouTube channel. Today I am going to be featuring the Nuvo crystal and glitter drops from Tonic Studios. These are probably one of the hottest items of 2016. They have been so popular, and even if you get just one bottle, you can totally see why, because it's literally like an addiction. You can't stop using them. On my studio table here, I have a selection of the different types of crystal drops that are available from Tonic Studios. The ones I'm holding here are the gloss colors. These dry in like a shiny, wet appearance, very similar to glossy accents. There are 12 of those types of colors. Next up, we have the glitter drops, and these, as the name suggests, are glittery. And I think it's really fun because you basically get to create your own glittery enamel dots. There are 16 different glitter colors, and these are really sparkly. I really love all the different types of colors that are included in the glitter drops because you literally have an entire rainbow to choose from. Then finally we have the pearlescent colors. These have a pearlized matte appearance. They're not as glossy as the gloss colors. They're more of just a pearl finish. There are 24 of the crystal colors. The crystal colors and the gloss colors look very similar, but you'll be able to tell the difference because you'll notice that the gloss ones have a more wet appearance to them. So that's the easiest way to be able to distinguish which is a crystal drop color and which is a crystal gloss drop color. So here I've got a selection of enamel dots that I've created using the Nuvo crystal drops. I've also made some with the glitter as well. You can see up close here how beautifully perfect they look, just like enamel dots. They have a nice domed finish, which is really great. You can also see the difference in color tones. You've got the pearlized on the left, the gloss in the middle, and the glitter on the right. I'm going to go ahead and remove these off of this page protector that I had created them on. I find that doing them on either a page protector or a non-stick craft sheet, like either adhesive backing sheets or freezer paper, or maybe if you have a non-stick craft mat, that will work too. I've also heard that you can do it on a glass mat. I've never done that myself, but I have heard that it does work. So I'm going to remove these off of the page protector. This is my favorite way to be able to create enamel dots because I find that they come off really easily and they also keep their domed shape really nicely. Here's a close-up look. You can see the pearlized there, the gloss in the center, and then the glitter on the right. And this is a great example of how they have different properties and each one does something different. I think my favorite is the glitter ones just because I love glittery things, but all of them are equally as beautiful. Now, creating these enamel dots is really easy. I'm going to show you here. I'm just carefully applying it onto my page protector. I'm not pressing the nozzle onto the page protector because I find you don't get as good of a domed shape rather than if you keep the tip of the bottle up above your page protector. So never press the tip of the bottle onto the page protector or wherever you're placing your crystal drops because I find that you get much better results when you keep the tip of the bottle up off of your page. So I'm going to let these dry. I let these sit for at least 24 hours because I want to make sure that they're fully dry. Here I've already allowed them to dry. These are the ones we created in that previous clip. And I had let these dry for quite a bit, and I'm now going to remove them off of my page protector. Another thing I'll mention is that a lot of times after you've removed them off of the page protector and you stick them into a container or jar or wherever you're ending up keeping these enamel dots, they end up sticking to each other, and then they don't really want to come apart. They sometimes stick to the container itself, and they don't want to come off of that either. And that's because there's still a slight bit of tack to them. And I find that the best way to help prevent that is to take them off of your page protector or whatever non-stick sheet you're working with and let them air dry fully for another probably 24 hours at least before you go ahead and store them. I live in a very high moisture environment here in New England. I live right near the water, so I get a lot of moisture from that. But I find that as I let these sit out and dry for quite a bit, I don't have any trouble with them sticking to each other. So keep that in mind. Maybe that'll help you out if you find you're having trouble with the enamel dots sticking to each other. Now there are lots of ways that you can use these enamel dots. Here I'm showing you how I created these really beautiful tinted clear droplets using watercolors. This is really fun because you can create these gorgeous, delicate, clear droplets that would look really awesome on all sorts of types of cards. These are very easy to create. I'm just taking some watercolors. You can use any type of watercolors you want. I'll be showing you a couple other examples here in a couple minutes that I actually used ink pads. However, I'm just going to drop the color onto my page protector sheet. I'm doing it in drops here, but you could swipe it across the page protector or any other way you want to apply it. I'm just doing drops here to show you that there's a variety of ways you can do it. In that previous clip, you noticed two sheets. One sheet used the drop technique like this, and then the other one I had actually swiped the color across the page. So now that I've applied the color onto my paper, I'm going to take the clear crystal drops. This is the Morning Dew color. This is very similar to glossy accents. I'm going to apply this right over top of each of these watercolor drops that I've created. And as I apply it on top, you'll notice they get a little cloudy looking. This is normal because this color of the crystal drops, the clear, is cloudy when you first apply it down. It will dry clear once it has fully dried. But as I apply this over top of the watercolor, it reacts with the color that's underneath and basically sucks it right up. You'll notice it as you start to apply the crystal drop on top. The color just gets sucked right into that crystal drop that we're applying over top. So I'm going to let these dry. I let these dry for at least 24 hours as well, especially with these because these were not only using the wet crystal drop, but we're applying it onto a wet medium too. So it's going to take a little longer to dry. Here I'm going to show you now, after they've dried, how gorgeous they are and how they have this beautiful clear appearance, but yet they're tinted with a color. These are really beautiful, and I would love to use these on cards that I do watercoloring and add these on top. This would be really stunning. Now, another way you could do this if you don't want to use watercolors is you can press inks onto your page protectors and then apply the crystal drops over top. They're still going to be clear, but they're going to have a much more intense color because the ink pads have more concentrated color, whereas the watercolors are a little bit more translucent. So on the left here, I've got some crystal drops that I applied over top of Altenew dye inks. And on the right here, I've got crystal drops that I applied over Distress inks. Both look very similar, and I don't think you can really tell the difference between them. You can see I tried to choose colors that were pretty similar from my ink pads. So for like the green, I have Mowed Lawn from Distress inks, and then I also have Forest Glades from Altenew. Same thing with the red. I used a red color, I think it was Ruby Red or Crimson. One of those two from Altenew, and then I also used Candy Apple from the Distress inks, and you can see they look very similar. You couldn't even tell the difference. So that's a really fun way to create some fun effects with your crystal drops and some of your other supplies that you already have on hand. Now you can also do other fun things with these crystal drops. One fun thing I like is that you can create eyeballs with these. So I just applied 2 drops of the white crystal drops, and now I'm going to apply some of the black crystal drops on top. So I'm just going to squeeze this out to make sure it's not clogged, and then I'll go ahead and drop this right on top of the white. You don't want to press this into the one that you're applying it to because it'll kind of smear it. You just literally want to let it drop right on. You can also do this with colors. You can mix colors together like this one here. I'm putting blue and green together, and I'll kind of swirl that around to kind of get them to mix. It's a really fun way to add some custom colors to your enamel dots. To swirl them, I just use a stick pin and just stick it into the center and very carefully just move that around in the center area. You don't want to push too hard on this because you will start to lose that nice round shape. Now, also a fun way to be able to use these enamel dots is to create fun braids. This one here I'm creating in basically candy cane colors. I'm dropping some white color onto my page protector, and now I'm going to bring in some of the red, and I'm going to apply that in between each of those white dots. Sorry about my head, I was trying to make sure I was getting this lined up. Once I applied that, I'm going to take my stick pin and drag right down the center through those enamel dots, and that blends them together and creates this really cool braid. Also kind of reminds me of a candy cane. It looks really neat. Now, something else fun to do with these enamel dots is to create pearlized paints. So let me show you how fun this is. I'm taking some enamel dots here in the pearlized colors, and I'm going to take a wet brush and start mixing the water into the pearlized crystal drop. As I start to pick up the color, I'll apply it onto my paper, and it's hard to see with this color. This is a very purpley light color, and it's very silvery looking once you apply it down onto the paper. So it's a little difficult to see, but I'm just applying this over top of my white watercolor paper. I'll also be applying it over top of some real colors of watercolor so you can actually see how it creates some really beautiful pearlized paints. But you can see as I lift this up, it has a nice pearlized sheen to it. Especially after it dries, you can see that pearlized color really beautifully. Here's a better example of a gold color. I'm just taking some of that gold pearlized crystal drops. and applying it onto my watercolor paper. You can see the beautiful pearlized gold watercolor that you get. Really, really pretty. You can also mix these with colors. I put down some watercolor in both red and blue. I'm applying the gold onto the red, and I'm also showing you an example of how you can apply it both onto wet watercolor and also dry. So this is a wet swatch of red watercolor. I'm applying the gold onto the paper, and then after it dries, you can see that pearlized sheen that the watercolor has. Really, really pretty. And I really think it's so much fun that you can get so many things out of these crystal drops. Now you can also do this with the silvery colors. So here I'm taking a silvery pearlized drop and I'm mixing it with water. And this time I'm applying it onto a dry watercolor swatch. You can see it starts to reactivate the watercolor underneath because we've got the wet medium and the wet water. But it's really cool and it adds that beautiful pearlized tint to the watercoloring. Now you can also take that pearlized watercolor that we still have on our brush and continue to use it elsewhere. So you can see here, I've got a lot on my brush and I'm able to create a really beautiful pearlized watercolor from all that ink that we had on our brush. After it's dried, you can see that pearlized sheen that we have on the watercoloring. This is so much fun. It's a really great way to really stretch the use of these pearlized crystal drops and create some really fun effects. And of course I had to try it with the glitter, so I'm applying some of the glitter crystal drops onto a wet watercolor swatch, mixing this around, getting those glitter granules mixed into the watercolor really well. And then once it dries, you can see it has that stunning glittery shine to it. This would be really fun to create some really beautiful glitter backgrounds and really adds some nice shine to your project. And that glitter, once it dries, doesn't come off of the watercolor. Because it has that bonding medium mixed into the glitter drop itself, and we were painting with that, it bonded to the paper beautifully and it does not come off after it dries. Now I love to stay organized, so I wanted to have a color chart that allows me to see all the different colors that are available from Tonic Studios as part of their Crystal Drops line. And I also wanted to be able to use it to help me match up colors when I'm working on a project so I can really tell quickly and easily what colors I want to use that matches up well with the colors that I'm using on my cards. So I've created this color chart here, and I'll have this available over at the Simon Says Stamp blog that you can go ahead and print and download so that you can use this as well for your projects. So let me show you a close-up look of the color chart. You can see here I've got a lot of the colors. I've been collecting them over the past couple months, and I've applied each of the crystal drops onto the coordinating squares that we have on this color chart. I have them organized first by color, so it's organized in rainbow order, and it's also organized by color type. So we have the gloss up at the top, and then that ends up going down into the regular crystal drop colors. Then further down towards the bottom, you'll see we have the glitter drops as well. So it's really well organized so that you can go ahead and quickly find what you're looking for. And also helps you keep track of what you have and what colors you're missing and what colors you might want to add to your collection. Now before we go, I want to show you a couple examples of how I use the crystal drops. Here you can see I've used them to create snow in the background of this card, and I also added them to the trees. The trees were created with distress inks, and you can see that they actually reactivated with the crystal drops. That's one fun thing about the crystal drops is that I noticed that they reactivate with certain inks. Some inks they don't, and other inks they do. Distress inks are one of those inks that they will reactivate with. On this card, you can see I added the glitter drops to the berries on this pine branch. I love how shimmery and glittery that they are. They capture the light beautifully. This card also features some of the other Nuvo tonic products. And I have a couple other videos over on the Simon Says Stamp blog that are part of this blog post, which will have information on those other products. So be sure to check that out. Now another card features the crystal drops is this one here. This one I actually used the crystal drops as a bonding agent. So I used it to adhere glitter to my card. I just applied the crystal drops onto my card, and then I sprinkled some glitter over top of them, and that creates this nice beautiful silvery color tone underneath of my silvery glitter. It was a perfect match, and really neat to see that they can be used not only as embellishments, but also be used as an adhesive for certain products that you might want to be able to see underneath. Now, another fun way to be able to use these is to create embellishments on your die cut. So here I added the glitter drops onto these snowflakes, and it creates these really nice pearlized embellishments on top of these really cute snowflake dies. Really, really fun way to be able to use those. I also love using the clear drops and the clear glitter drops to be able to create some really fun ethereal looking backgrounds. So this one here, I added the dots into the background, creates this really fun effect. And then on this card, I actually used the pearlized crystal drops to create some nice silvery looking stars in the background of this watercolor piece. These crystal drops are so much fun because you can get so much use out of all of these different colors. And it's really neat to be able to see all the different techniques that you can do with these products. So I hope you have got some inspiration on using the Nuvo crystal and glitter drops from Tonic Studios. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below and head on over to the Simon Says Stamp blog where you can get more information on these products. Thanks so much for stopping by. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can connect with us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube, as well as our blog.